building. He can climb 14 steps to get into Air Force One, a mere 6 hours, and 6 hours later, he can't get one leg up to get in an SUV? And someone is there to film it? Now, we know why they filmed him getting on Air Force One, because it was public. You know, the press is always there. When the president leaves, he turns around and he waves at the paparazzi and what have you. You know, the whole thing is, to me, is optics. I do not believe that he is going to drop out, because I do not believe that Hunter and Jill are going to let him drop out. If they have to wheel him, if they have to stay here, you know how you transport a refrigerator out of your house? You get a dolly that has a strap that goes there. You know, you put the tongue of the dolly underneath the fridge, and then you run the strap around, and then you buckle it so when you pull back on the dolly, the refrigerator is strapped to it. And, you know, kind of like what they did with Hannibal Lecter in the Silence of the Lambs movie, when they wheeled him into the airport, and he told the senator woman, "Toughened your nipples, didn't it?" Remember that, when they take the mask off, but they have him strapped to a dolly. If they have to strap him to a dolly to get him wherever he has to go until November, this is the best shot that they have. Why would any Democrat want to get beaten by Trump? By the way, the Democrats are now out there circulating their own internal polling. I saw this last night, with 5 candidates on it that they say that they have polling that proves 5 candidates can beat Trump. One of them is Newsom. One of them is Kamala. I can only pick out Newsom because I know the headshot and Kamala. I couldn't see who the other 3 are, but they claim to have 5 candidates that can beat Trump. Now, if the Democrat Party is that strong and is that popular and is really that assured, why are they acting like they're defeated? By the way, my friend Frank Wright, you heard Frank on Monday's show, has a new piece out here today. This is exactly what I said. I don't know, maybe Frank was listening yesterday. We think alike. Project Vandalism, the end game of the death cult, is maximum damage. What did I tell you? On the way out the door, twixt now and November, watch your 6, bro. These people don't go silently and quietly into that good night. Fully expect that they will crash and burn the Democrat major cities that are under their control. You know why? Because they hate you and they hate me, and they want Trump to walk into an absolute crap show. So, translation, what do I mean? They want him to fail. They want you to fail. They want us to fail. So they want to make it so that the comeback is impossible. Play digital media file number 12.
What happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again. What happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
But we're not going to let that happen, are we? Because we got this guy. His name, you know him as Hulk Hogan. His name is Terry Gene Bollea.
When they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Brother! By the way, he has a Trump Vance tank top on. All right, before we run out of time, I think you have just enough time to... No, you'll never get it in. I want to play you the next one from home. Let me tell you something, brothers, all you lowlife and scumbags. Scorched earth is what they're going to do. It will probably begin today. Gee, wait a minute. Was there a Microsoft crash or failure or something? Wait. What? Coincidence? No. I don't believe in them. Do you? And he can climb 14 steps to get into Air Force One, a mere 6 hours, and 6 hours later, he can't get one leg up to get in an SUV? And someone is there to film it? Now, we know why they filmed him getting on Air Force One, because it was public. You know, the press is always there. When the president leaves, he turns around and he waves at the paparazzi and what have you. You know, the whole thing is, to me, is optics. I do not believe that he is going to drop out, because I do not believe that Hunter and Jill are going to let him drop out. If they have to wheel him, if they have to stay here, you know how you transport a refrigerator out of your house? You get a dolly that has a strap that goes there. You know, you put the tongue of the dolly underneath the fridge, and then you run the strap around, and then you buckle it so when you pull back on the dolly, the refrigerator is strapped to it. And, you know, kind of like what they did with Hannibal Lecter in the Silence of the Lambs movie, when they wheeled him into the airport, and he told the senator woman, "Toughened your nipples, didn't it?" Remember that, when they take the mask off, but they have him strapped to a dolly. If they have to strap him to a dolly to get him wherever he has to go until November, this is the best shot that they have. Why would any Democrat want to get beaten by Trump? By the way, the Democrats are now out there circulating their own internal polling. I saw this last night, with 5 candidates on it that they say that they have polling that proves 5 candidates can beat Trump. One of them is Newsom. One of them is Kamala. I could only pick out Newsom because I know the headshot and Kamala. I couldn't see who the other 3 are, but they claim to have 5 candidates that can beat Trump.
For the purpose of making a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Bernie Moreno. I'm honored to be the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate from the great state of Ohio. I know firsthand that my dear friend JD is a selfless and brilliant fighter. He is a patriot who loves America. He loves Ohio. He loves his family. He's a great father. He's a great man. And that's what we need in this nation today. To J.D. Vance, America First is not just a slogan. It's his North Star. He has followed it every moment of his life and career. He knows what it's like to live in poverty, forgotten by Washington politicians. He is dedicated to ensure that no American is ever forgotten again. Madam Chair, it is a great honor to move that J.D. Vance be nominated by acclamation by this Republican National Convention as its candidate for the office of Vice President of the United States of America.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the motion that Senator J.D. Vance be nominated by acclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Delegates and alternates, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that Senator J.D. Vance has the overwhelming support of this convention to be the next Vice President of the United States. The chair is pleased to make the following appointments to the Escort Committee for Senator J.D. Vance, his vice presidential nominee. Usha Vance, thank you, and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Speaker Johnson.
All right. What a great night. Pursuant to Rule 40D of the Rules of the Republican Party, I formally declare President Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance as the Republican nominees for President and Vice President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back RNC Chairman Michael Whatley.
What a great afternoon for the Republican Party, and what a great afternoon for America. It is now time to take the official convention photograph. If all of the delegates would please stand and turn to the center camera directly opposite the stage, we will take the official photograph. Camera's right there, right above it. See the guy with the big tape. Thank you, man. Great job. Thank you, delegates. At this time, please welcome Leora Levy, delegate and National Committee woman from Connecticut, who will lead us in a benediction.
Let us pray. That means be quiet. Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the life and the strength of President Donald Trump and pray that you continue to protect his family. We pray for Corey Comparatori and his family. May his memory always be a blessing. We pray for the 2 patriotic Americans who were wounded and for their speedy, complete recovery. King of the universe, who knows all, sees all, please watch over us as we embark on the work for which we have gathered here today. We are here to elect President Donald J. Trump, a leader with wisdom, strength, courage, and the experience to repair what has been badly broken. Lord, please bless the leaders of our great Republican Party. Bless President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, RNC Chairman Michael Whatley, Co-Chairman Laura Trump, the delegates, alternates, and guests gathered here today as we work to make America great again. May we remember your word in Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave nor forsake you. Our Father in heaven, bless our exceptional country, the United States of America, and all who stand vigilant to protect us, the members of our armed forces, police, and first responders. O Lord our God, we pray for the peace of Jerusalem, your eternal city, and for all the children of Abraham. We remember and pray for freedom for the hostages kidnapped and held so cruelly against their will. Lord, please keep them in your sight and hasten the day of their freedom. Lord, we have gathered here from different communities, cities, states, and territories. Let us pray together, united for our nation, the United States of America. May our prayers unite the American people to work together for the betterment of our nation and of the entire world. May America be a light unto the nations and an emissary of clarity and leadership for the world. Grant peace, goodness, blessing, grace, loving kindness, and mercy to us. Bless us, our Father, all of us as one, with the light of your face. Amen.
In a moment, we will recess until this evening's session. This evening's session will reconvene at approximately 5:45. However, I will instruct delegates to please return to the hall at 5:30 p.m. in order to be in your seats by 5:45 p.m. I thank you for consideration. The chair declares that the 2024 Republican National Convention is in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
For the purpose of making a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Bernie Moreno. I'm honored to be the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate from the great state of Ohio. I know firsthand that my dear friend JD is a selfless and brilliant fighter. He is a patriot who loves America. He loves Ohio. He loves his family. He's a great father. He's a great man. And that's what we need in this nation today. The JD Vance, America First, is not just a slogan. It's his North Star. He has followed it every moment of his life and career. He knows what it's like to live in poverty, forgotten by Washington politicians. He is dedicated to ensure that no American is ever forgotten again. Madam Chair, it is a great honor to move that JD Vance be nominated by acclamation by this Republican National Convention as its candidate for the office of Vice President of the United States of America.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the motion that Senator J.D. Vance be nominated by acclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Delegates and alternates, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that Senator J.D. Vance has the overwhelming support of this convention to be the next Vice President of the United States. The chair is pleased to make the following appointments to the Escort Committee for Senator J.D. Vance, his vice presidential nominee. Usha Vance, thank you, and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Speaker Johnson.
What a great night. Pursuant to Rule 40D of the Rules of the Republican Party, I formally declare President Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance as the Republican nominees for President and Vice President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back RNC Chairman Michael Whatley.
What a great afternoon for the Republican Party, and what a great afternoon for America. It is now time to take the official convention photograph. If all of the delegates would please stand and turn to the center camera directly opposite the stage, we will take the official photograph. Camera's right there, right above it. See the guy with the big top. Great job. Thank you, delegates. At this time, please welcome Leora Levy, delegate and National Committee woman from Connecticut, who will lead us in a benediction.
Let us pray. That means be quiet. Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the life and the strength of President Donald Trump and pray that you continue to protect his family. We pray for Corey Comparatori and his family. May his memory always be a blessing. We pray for the 2 patriotic Americans who were wounded and for their speedy complete.
That would work, at least partially, and would stop the bleeding. George Webb, what say you?
Well, I say that Mike Church is number 1 on XM Sirius Radio for how many years in a row now? For a very good reason. He's right. You're not number 1 because you can read the news or do all those other stuff. First of all, you're way funnier than any of the lefties that they had doing comedy news, right? You're way funnier. The problem with me listening on the line is I start cracking up, so I can't finish. I lose my train of thought. But you can make the federal debt funny. so that's a talent that is like you're the only one in the world that can make the federal debt funny. and so when I hear you go through all these stories, it's just so much fun. I mean, John, what's his face on the left had a little bit of that going on. I can't remember his name.
Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart had a little bit of that going on, but you do it like nobody. And so when I say, okay, Mike, I want to come on the show, and as much as I love the federal debt, and as funny as you are,
I would love to change the subject with your permission, and I'm talking to the grand guy here on XM Radio, because I'd like to get ready to rumble. I want to step into the ring with the FBI, with Trump going head-to-head with the FBI, with your permission, if I could just get that permission from you.
No. Well, first of all, we're not on XM Radio any longer. We haven't been since 2015. Their loss. Secondly, absolutely, that's what you call for. We're going to do that. I was just on the subject when you rang the line, and I thought I would give you a chance to ring on it. And we have to take a break because we're up against the clock in a minute and a half. But I just want to read the audience. Okay. The Cheney sanction, how Trump was a threat to continuity of government. Is there still a sanction on the head of President Trump? Wasn't there a TV show about continuity of government? Wasn't Kiefer Sutherland in that show?
Yeah, I don't remember what they called the Kiefer Sutherland show. I think it was Black Ops or something like that. I'll have it for you after the break. I promise you.
Yeah, but the scenario is the same, that we can't allow they blew up the Capitol building during a State of the Union address, and everyone was there, but someone had to be off site, and it just happened to be the Kiefer Sutherland character, and so he basically had to take over the control of government. But you've gone into since the last time we talked to you, George Webb, and now we have 45 seconds, but you can hold. It's a quick break, right?
Sure.
Okay, so the last time we talked to you, we were Act Blue community snipers, and Crooks was acting as a spotter for this guy named Urick. And there were two guys on the roof and not one, and that's what the audio and the videotape evidence has shown. Interestingly enough, yesterday, and Assistant Director Abate and Chief Keystone Cop in charge Rowe, nothing about any. It's a single guy, single shooter. We know what happened. This and that and the other. So. Hold that thought. We're going to come back with George Webb, investigative journalist, after the timeout here. And we'll pick all this up. And believe me, you're not going to want to miss this segment here, so don't. Let's go back to the Dude Maker hotline here, and we'll bring a George Webb, investigative journalist, who was on the scene in Butler Township. Then he was on the scene in Pittsburgh. And yesterday he was fly fishing in the Allegheny River. So I don't know where he is today. So you were near some flowing body of water yesterday.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Mike, I got to say your commercials are funny too, because when you say you're going to put Bezos in the chopper, I know you're not saying a violent thing. I know you're not actually talking about putting Bezos through a wood chipper. I know that.
No.
Right? You're just kidding. You're kidding. Right?
Totally.
Okay. Yeah, you're not. Totally. Yeah. ShopMikeChurchBooks.com is not a violent organization at all, but it is a funny commercial. Put him in the chopper. Anyway, and my comment about XM Radio was, you could see what happened in about 2015. Oh my gosh, these really funny guys that aren't doing our stuff, we got to get rid of them.
Yes.
Right? Because remember, wasn't what's his name, Howie Mandel, and did they have the other guy, the New York Shock Jock on there, Howard Stern? That was XM Radio, and they were losing because they just couldn't do another shock piece. They couldn't do another misogynistic thing over the radio, and they wanted content. And you were you provided a lot of ratings for them for a long time. I've talked to a lot of hosts on XM, and they did a whole house cleaning of you guys, because they were like, these guys are popular, we're getting the numbers, but it's going the wrong direction. We got to get rid of them.
Well, the funny thing is, when they got rid of me, and they put Bannon in my place.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I won't say limited hangout, because that would be not a good thing to say. But I mean, good for Steve. That's. And anyway, back to the Trump assassination just for a second. Look, we didn't say anything that wasn't driven from on-the-ground reporting from where we were going. And what we got was, we had 19 locations to work from. Senator Johnson put those out there. Yep. We went and walked every one of them. And everywhere we went, we talked to people. And we caught the FBI in the first lie. We went to the Home Depot. That was one of the Senator Johnson things. That turned out to be a lie, that he bought the ladder the day of the shooting on the 13th. That was a lie. He bought it on the 8th, right? We believe Urick was with him. That's why they haven't put out the picture of him buying the ladder, but he bought it on the 8th. So Ray had to retract that. So then he puts his number 2 guy out there yesterday, Abate goes in there. And now they have to reach all the way back out of 700 posts on Gab, right, which they have withheld from us, so they scrubbed all of his social. Have to go all the way back to when he was 14 and say he did something that was anti-immigrant, right? If you read the post, it looks like he's, wisdom of Solomon for a 14-year-old, wisdom for the ages.
Sure does.
It's actually pro. It sure does, doesn't it? And it looks very pro-immigrant. So I wonder what the other 699 say. I mean, does this kid become a... Yeah,
George. I know it's in your piece today, but I don't know if you had the time to read it all. And I kind of know Andrew Torba. I don't really know him, but I kind of know him. Andrew Torba, the CEO of Gab, was out within a half an hour of Abate saying, "Going, that is not how that happened. That is not what you subpoenaed me, and that is not what I told you." And Torba's saying that, if anything, Epic Microwave, that's the handle, right? Epic Microwave is a lefty, if anything.
Yeah.
So
big time. And Torba's smart to do that because he knew we were on the ground talking to everybody at all 19 locations. We talked to as many people as wearing shoes. That's how we limit our selectiveness. We talk to everybody, right? So he knows that the truth is going to come out sooner or later, and he doesn't want to have that on his face with these other 699 things come out. But my point is, this is even before Biden, going all the way back to 2019. They had to go through all the way back, right? He signs up with Act Blue in 2000 when he's 17, and right around that 2020-21 time frame. So he's not only pro-Biden, he's pro-DNC before he's pro-Biden, and that's the big story that's not out there yet. But down goes Abate. First, Ray's caught in a lie. He drops out. He says, "I'm going to give this over to my number 2." Number 2 comes out and falls on his face with the first thing he does with the Gab thing. I think the next thing is coming with the rifle, the DR-15, which I think is a lie. I think the CT-15, and I won't go into the technical details, but it's a much higher energetic sniper rifle. And you can see the percussion wave, the supersonic wave that hits Trump's face.
Yes.
When it hits his nasal prominence, what it does is it divides it like a sharp rock with a wave. It goes from left and right, and you see the wave line actually in the bloodline on his face. Mm-hmm. That's from a very high energetic round, which we think is a 408 round, not a 308 round, fired by this Dick Cheney Cheyenne Urick rifle. Roger Urick develops the Cheyenne rifle with Dick Cheney's help in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And they distribute this thing out to all these different gun shops in the United States. So it's an amazing story when you get into the Roger Urick and the CT-15. But we think one of the CT-15s, because it's a high-energy rifle, meant to go through glass, meant to go through bulletproof glass. And that is why it's an assassin's rifle for heads of state. And that's why Dick Cheney supported it. And so this is just an amazing series of investigative finds that we're coming across now.
Okay, so if you go to georgewebb.substack.com, and you talk about the Cheney sanction. So this is a spoof or your version of the Iger sanction?
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't get Clint Eastwood, so I had to use an AI version of Clint Eastwood. But yeah,
okay.
I actually use an AI version of Dick Cheney. Yeah.
Since we have a little bit of time, I want to do a medium dive, not a total deep dive, because you write in Garrett Graff's masterpiece book Raven Rock. He outlines how Vice President Cheney essentially created a new government that would go into effect if the Constitution was suspended before 9/11. And then the book, you have a picture of the book there, the story of the U.S. government's secret plan to save itself while the rest of us die. And it's called Raven Rock. And apparently Raven Rock is a mountain site, or site number R. Now, this is almost like, it almost sounds to me like a dual or a second location of the movie studio at Laurel Canyon.
Well, you mentioned Designated Survivor with Keith Sutherland.
Yes.
That was after he did 24. It is sort of like a Designated Survivor, only this, instead of Keith Sutherland running HUD, it's Dick Cheney as vice president. And that actually happens on 9/11. Cheadle, the director of the Secret Service, is the person who the person who was in charge of the Trump, thing, who just got fired.
Yes.
She was in charge of giving Dick Cheney the keys as president. The person who was the one who was saying that we need to invoke continuity of government because weapons of mass destruction are here in Shanksville at Flight 93, Tony Guy. Sheriff Tony Guy is the guy who calls that in. He's on the JTTF investigative team. That's what allows continuity of government to happen on 9/11. That day, he disavows the United States adherence to the Bioweapons Convention, which was defensive weapons only, and says, now we're going to do gain of function. So that sets the stage for coronavirus 1, SARS 1. It sets the stage for MERS. It sets the stage for coronavirus 2 and for H5N1. But that happened when there was on 9/11, there was a threat that most people don't know about in the morning, a death threat on Bush, and he got on a plane off at Air Force Base on Air Force One. That invoked, when the weapons of mass destruction were found at Flight 93, that invoked continuity of government. And the sanction that Dick Cheney wrote into the 9/11, this Ravenrock covers this and Graf covers this really well,
okay,
is that you are allowed to use assassination forces. It's called the Washington NATO Plan. You're allowed to bring in NATO assassins to assassinate a threat to democracy. And a threat to democracy is any threat to the continuity of government. So Trump, if you remember the rhetoric, Biden was even saying Trump was a threat to democracy after the assassination attempt. Right? The only thing he recanted was he said, I shouldn't have said we need to forget about debates. We're putting a bullseye on Trump. The only thing he recanted is I shouldn't have said it out loud. I should have just used my inside voice instead of my outside voice. Right? That's the only thing he recanted. Yeah.
George Webb, investigative journalist. I want all of you to go to georgewebb.substack.com and become a paid subscriber today. Okay, so a lot to unpack here. So let me try to go through this for the audience's sake because you're coming at us fast and furious.
Okay.
Okay. So the first things first, so people know this. When George Webb went, I talked to George on Saturday, July the 13th via text message. And he told me, Mike, I'm in the air. He was already on the way to Butler Township. So why? Okay. This is what they don't expect to happen. They expect that people are going to remain internet sleuths. And George, they're not worried about people being internet sleuths because they run Google, Pridebook, Yahoo, and all the news services. The only thing that's going to be available is what they want to be available. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Okay. They are not expecting Gumshoe Sam Spade, Gumshoe George Webb. They are not expecting anyone to want to win a Pulitzer Prize and to actually go to Butler Township and go to the Pittsburgh field office and go to Crooks' school and go to the shooting range and go to the Home Depot and actually start doing old-fashioned like you're on an episode of Dragnet, flashing photographs out. Have you seen this, man? They are not expecting, and isn't that just so typical of government and most people today? Lazy, just do it on the internet. They're not expecting old-fashioned police work and investigative journalist work to be done. Am I right?
Exactly correct. And I'll tell you, I'll give credit to the guy who taught me that, is Dan Hopsiker. And he had a whole bunch of things about the assassination attempt at Longboat Key the morning of that threw the continuity of government into a consideration. He said, you got to get there before they destroy all the evidence. About 2 days in, they came with a big FBI van and they took all the evidence out of Venice, where the Muslim guys were learning how to fly at the Venice airport. And they pushed it all into a van and drove away. So he said, you got to get there before they drive, the van comes, the cleanup crew comes with the power washers and the vacuum cleaners. And that's what I did. And I was driven through the middle of the night to get to Butler the next morning as quickly as possible. And that's what they don't expect. And that's what forces the Gab, Torba and so forth to come down on the side of truth, because they know there are people out there that are running these leads down.
And okay, so and then what happens then, and what begins to transpire, is that the evidence leads you on to track down as you're going through the leads here, and then you run up against the fact that this guy that you mentioned, who is now the sheriff of Beaver County, Tony Guy, was the guy that's on the ground when Flight 93 crashes into the ground in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Now, I'm one of these people that's remains unconvinced that thing actually that it disintegrated into the earth, and that there was nothing that was left, not a single filling from a tooth could be found, or a jawbone to identify a single victim on Flight 93. But Tony Guy said he found anthrax there.
Or a whole bunch of people that came back from Nichols, a team, the medics, and they all thought they had anthrax-like symptoms.
Okay.
So they get very squishy when you're trying to nail them down on facts. But my point is that you can't disavow the BWC convention that Nixon signed, right? Unless you have evidence that the Muslim terrorists or someone is using these new weapons, and now we need to develop countermeasures, right? And all the countermeasures, the mRNA comes from countermeasures, right?
Right.
The whole thing we just lived through. So that's my point, is that Cheney became the president of the United States with Cheadle in the office, with Tony Guy on the other end in Pittsburgh, in actually Shanksville, that day on 9/11. Isn't it interesting? All those same people are aligned the day that Trump is killed. Yes. Why? Because they want to cover up that, go all the way back to 9/11. They don't want this out, and Cheney is, there's a lot of people that have suicided, by shooting themselves with a sniper bullet from 1,000 yards. So this is a good story. It's more than just the Trump assassination.
Okay, so and now today we get Trope-a-Dope, how to fight FBI lies. Match FBI lies with true memes to pummel their lies into a corner. I don't know if you know who Jack Posobiec is, but I
do. I know Jack well.
Okay.
I've worked with him a lot in Washington, D.C.
Okay, so Jack's got a new book out on humans. It's very good. And he and Joshua Lisek, I'm 110 pages in now on humans. I think that the central point of Unhumans, it's unlike any other book I ever read. And I keep saying, I can't believe Steinman und Schuster actually published Unhumans through Skyhorse Publishing, but they did. Jack and Joshua make the point that the only way that you're going to beat communists, if they have come to take over, is you have to punch hard and you have to punch down. Reciprocity across the board. If you give them, if they take an inch and a half back from them. Otherwise, the march towards communism is assured, and they don't ever. They're like demons. They don't take breaks. They're not in unions. They don't take coffee breaks. They don't sleep. They are literally the Terminator from they work like the Terminator from the Cameron movie, like this.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead.
And then that brings us to this. So you're encouraging people to meme these guys into submission. What kind of memes are you suggesting, and for what purpose?
Well, I put about 30 of them in the piece this morning.
They're great.
So I'm not shy about putting examples out there. But, for instance, I put 3 different maps of where the 19 locations are that Senator Johnson put out. And just like, why aren't we talking about these 6? And what I call the stepping stone 6. There's stepping stones from him going from DNC and Act Blue and knocking on doors of union places and asking for donations. That's one thing. That's activism, and that's political activism. That's fine. I have to say, at one point I did that for the other side,
right.
So I know about it.
Okay,
but it's a different thing to say. You know what? This isn't getting any results, and Trump's going to be a threat to democracy, and I need to become a sniper through the Antifa program, and I need to take Trump out. The time for knocking on doors is no more. We have to be a sniper. We have to kill Trump. That's moving from nonviolent to violent. And what I'm saying is there's a program to do that. There's sort of a Fast and Furious 2 program. You said Fast and Furious earlier. There is a program to do that. And the same thing, you just think about boot camp. You go to Camp Lejeune, you stand there on the yellow squares for your feet, and then in 16 weeks later, you're a killer. Okay, and you're popping zits when you first come in on the bus.
You're popping zits.
Right. Right? And you're a killer 16 weeks later. And I'm saying the same exact program, just covert, is being done with Antifa, right? And this Washington NATO plan that Cheney put in allows for that, right? And that's the thing. That's the hidden hand here. And that's why they're using these 3 times energetic 408 rounds versus the 308 rounds. And that's why they're doing these advanced scopes and guns and weapons, drones that can shoot bullets and all these advanced assassination tools.
Now,
Jack says the communists are the enemy, and I say the continuity of government people is the enemy. And there's only 3 people on the chart. You know, it's Cheney, Cheadle, and Guy.
Okay, George Webb, investigative journalist, georgewebb.substack.com. Maggie, I want you to focus in, scroll back up on your page, show everyone on YouTube and on Crusade TV, Social Justice Sniper Factory. You think we made just one? And there are young men going in, and they come out the other side with guns with scopes on them as snipers. Now, this is a meme, but I don't think that you think that this is funny. And I don't think that you think that this is fantasy or that this is science fiction. I think that you actually think that, no. What do you think these people are doing with the hundreds of millions of dollars that they raise and all of these incel young men that just go missing and are never heard from again? Social Justice Sniper Factory. You mean to say that they actually are manufacturing killers?
Yeah, there's 500 Thomas Crooks at least. I say there's 5,000, but my colleagues tell me I exaggerate. But at least 500. It's a program in 35 cities, JTTF cities, in 50 state capitals, JTTF capitals. It's run through the JTTF. And these are resources that are vitally needed in case of insurrection. The program's called MAVNI, M-A-V-N-I. You have to go to my website, Stack, to read about it, but I wrote a lot of books about it. I've been talking about it for 8 years.
Wow.
And it is a military program which uses unconventional forces to take out threats to democracy. The problem is they're defining what a threat to democracy is. And if anybody has any doubt, they can just remember the last month where they said Trump's a threat to democracy. We're putting a bullseye on Trump. Then the shots ring out. Then they say our only mistake was saying that out loud. But we still think Trump's a threat to democracy. And the piece with Cheney, the Cheney sanction is, the point of the piece is the sanction is still in place.
Okay.
And they can fulfill the sanction with other people now. Crooks is just one of many.
Now, we're going to run out of time with George Webb, so we'll have to pick this up on another day. But one final point, and I want you to comment on this. I know you know James O'Keefe. Yep. James O'Keefe's first story is directly related to this. He and that woman went to that Acorn office in Baltimore and busted them dead to rights as being Obama Act Blue community activists that were laundering freaking money. What were they laundering the money for? O'Keefe never got to the bottom of that, but we know that Acorn never recovered from that. They just, and I suppose Act Blue just took their place. Do you agree with that, or am I?
I do.
Okay.
I do, and I think James did some great work with that. And James did another follow-up piece of money laundering with Act Blue, and I had done a big piece in 2017 with Act Blue to Act Blues on how they stole the Bernie money. But again, this is moving, think about it like the unions. You have a whole bunch of union organizers that are nonviolent, but then they also have the guys that throw you off the roof if you oppose the union, right? Those are the security guys, right? So that's just the same way this is. Act Blue, mostly nonviolent, and most people in that Act Blue never see the violent side. But then there's this sniper side, this guys who throw you off the roof side.
Wow.
And that is the program, and Cheney does run it. So I'm not saying, and we go down to the actual Cheney rifle that was commissioned, right? that goes through the bulletproof glass, the CT-15. And we believe Trump was hit with the CT-15. So the evidence, the forensics are there, and I think will be borne out to be true, proven correct.
Now, that would work, at least partially, and would stop the bleeding. George Webb, what say you?
Well, I say that Mike Church is number one on XM Sirius Radio for how many years in a row now? For a very good reason. He's right. You're not number one because you can read the news or do all this other stuff. First of all, you're way funnier than any of the lefties that they had doing comedy news, right? You're way funnier. The problem with me listening on the line is I start cracking up, so I can't finish. I lose my train of thought. But you can make the federal debt funny. So that's a talent that is like you're the only one in the world that can make the federal debt funny. And so when I hear you go through all these stories, it's just so much fun. I mean, John, what's his face on the left had a little bit of that going on. I can't remember his name.
Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart
had a little bit of that going on, but you do it like nobody. And so when I say, okay, Mike, I want to come on the show, and as much as I love the federal debt, and as funny as you are, I would love to change the subject with your permission. And I'm talking to the grand guy here on XM Radio, because I'd like to get ready to rumble. I want to step into the ring with the FBI, with Trump going head-to-head with the FBI, with your permission, if I could just get that permission from you.
No. First of all, we're not on XM Radio anymore. We haven't been since 2015. Their loss. Secondly, absolutely, that's what you call for. We're going to do that. I was just on the subject when you rang the line, and I thought I would give you a chance to ring on it. And we have to take a break because we're up against the clock in a minute and a half. But I just want to read the audience. Okay. The Cheney sanction, how Trump was a threat to continuity of government. Is there still a sanction on the head of President Trump? Wasn't there a TV show about continuity of government? Wasn't Kiefer Sutherland in that show?
Yeah, I don't remember what they called the Kiefer Sutherland show. I think it was Black Ops or something like that. I'll have it for you after the break. I promise you. Yeah, but the scenario is the same, that we can't allow they blew up the Capitol building during a State of the Union address, and everyone was there, but someone had to be off site, and it just happened to be the Kiefer Sutherland character, and so he basically had to take over the control of government. But you've gone into since the last time we talked to you, George, and now we have 45 seconds, but you can hold. It's a quick break, right? Sure.
Okay. So the last time we talked to you, we were Act Blue community snipers, and Crooks was acting as a spotter for this guy named Urick. And there were two guys on the roof and not one, and that's what the audio and the videotape evidence has shown. Interestingly enough, yesterday, and Assistant Director Abate and Chief Keystone Cop in charge Rowe, nothing about any. It's a single guy, single shooter. We know what happened. This and that and the other. So. Hold that thought. We're going to come back with George Webb, investigative journalist, after the timeout here. And we'll pick all this up. And believe me, you're not going to want to miss this segment here, so don't. Let's go back to the Dude Maker hotline here. And we'll bring George Webb, investigative journalist, who was on the scene in Butler Township. Then he was on the scene in Pittsburgh. And yesterday he was fly fishing in the Allegheny River. So I don't know where he is today. So you were near some flowing body of water yesterday.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Mike, I got to say your commercials are funny too, because when you say you're going to put Bezos in the chopper, I know you're not saying a violent thing. I know you're not actually talking about putting Bezos through a wood chipper. I know that.
No.
Right? You're just kidding. You're kidding.
Totally.
Right? Okay. Yeah, you're not. Yeah. ShopMikeChurchBooks.com is not a violent organization at all, but it is a funny commercial. Put him in the job. Anyway, and my comment about XM radio was you could see what happened in about 2015. Oh my gosh, these really funny guys that aren't doing our stuff, we got to get rid of them.
Yes.
Right? Because remember, what's his name, Howie Mandel, and they have the other guy, the New York Shock Jock on there, Howard Stern. That was XM radio, and they were losing because, they just couldn't do another shock piece. They couldn't do another misogynistic thing over the radio, and they wanted content. And you were you provided a lot of ratings for them for a long time. I've talked to a lot of hosts on XM, and they did a whole house cleaning of you guys because they were like, these guys are popular, we're getting the numbers, but it's going the wrong direction. We got to get rid of them.
Well, the funny thing is, when they got rid of me, and they put Bannon in my place.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I won't say limited hangout because that would be not a good thing to say. But I mean, good for Steve. That's. And anyway, back to the Trump assassination just for a second.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's a great crowd. There are a lot of people. Over 20,000 people couldn't get in, and we didn't need anybody to get the people here. We didn't need a star. We didn't need a star. We didn't need some entertainer to fill it up. And then she goes on last night. In about 6 minutes, everyone was leaving. They were pouring out. We don't need that. We've got our star. You know who the star is? All of you people are the star. You're the star. And I mean that. Hello, Harrisburg. A very special hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Thank you very much. As you know, this is my first return to Pennsylvania since our rally in Butler. We're going back to Butler, too, by the way. People said to me, "Are you serious?" I said, "I'm serious. We're going back." It's a great place. 18 days ago, where we had a very terrible day. We had a rough day, I will tell you, by all accounts. I should not be with you today. I shouldn't be with you. But I am. I want to thank all of the people of Pennsylvania for their extraordinary love and support. It is incredible. We're going to win this thing so big. We're going to win it big, including everyone at Butler Memorial Hospital. They were fantastic. Wow. Wow. They saw some pretty bad things. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, they did an amazing job. And we have, by the way, we have the doctor, one of the great doctors was there. He worked on Corey, actually. Corey had a hard time. Corey is special. Thank you, doctor. Appreciate it very much. Great doctors. great doctors. The job they did on David Dutch and James Copenhaver was just incredible. And as you know, they brought him back from very, very seriously wounded. They were going to be maybe not with us. It was a group of us, but they are doing really well now. They're making it. They're going to be fine. Not going to be perfect, maybe, but who is? Who is? As we get older, who is perfect? But the doctors were so great. They had two great doctors also. And most of all, we lift the memory, our memory, to the brave firefighter who was so cruelly taken from us, Corey Comparator. Corey Comparator. A very brave guy, loved by his family and his friends. He was really loved. In his last act on this earth, Corey threw himself over his wife and daughters and died, shielding them from the bullets of a very disturbed guy. Corey is a hero to all of us, to all of us. I want to thank a friend of mine, too. I'm not going to mention his name because he's pretty well known. And he came up to me, he said, would it be okay if I presented Corey's wife and family with a check? And I said, yeah, it would be okay with me. It's certainly okay. And he handed me a check for $1 million. $1 million. Think of that. Thank you, Dan. So he was very generous. In addition, we have a GoFundMe that's, it's really been great. I think we're at $6 million mark for the three of them, plus some other people. So, but you know what? Corey's wife said, I'd rather have my husband. Isn't that good? I know a lot of wives that would not say that. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Beautiful. Beautiful. That is the most quiet I have ever heard an arena. I have never heard. You could hear a pin drop. No, it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. In the wake of this heinous attack, we gather tonight more determined than ever. Our resolve is unbroken. And our will is undeterred. Nothing will stop us on our mission to make America great again. Nothing's going to stop us. Our country is doing badly. Front row Joe's over here. Front row Joe's, look at them. They've been to 212 events. You know, I'm pretty sure we have their vote. I'm not sure. You can never be sure of anything. You're voting for Trump. Okay, front row Joes. They love us and we love them. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. But as we're fighting to bring back the American dream for you and your family, the radical left Democrat Party bosses have installed a puppet candidate to fight only for themselves. Kamala Harris got 0 votes. She's totally scripted, owned, and controlled by the donors and the power brokers who created her campaign and who rip off our government and make billions and billions of dollars. They want to call them up and they want to deal with her. And I didn't deal like that. I never dealt like that. I didn't need the money. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I told a lot of guys that I like and some guys that I don't like, but very rich people, I just can't do that. I can't do it. They want to do the telephone systems. They want to do lots of little things like that. We'd like to take over the telephone system of the United States. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But unlike her, I cannot be bought and I cannot be controlled. I have no interest in that. My only loyalty is to you, the people. And you know that. Oh, I could have had such a nice, easy life. I could be at a nice place right now, relaxing, watching the waves breaking, but I'd rather be right here in Harrisburg with you. People that built our country. You're the people that built our country. I mean, some people don't like saying that, but you are indeed the people that built the country. We have, no matter where we go, we have the most incredible people. After lying to the country for years about Joe Biden's mental and physical condition, Kamala is now being given a personality makeover. Don't forget, 4 weeks ago, she was like considered the worst. Not smart, terrible, the worst vice president in history. He's the worst president we've ever had. But they were considered terrible. And all of a sudden, she's the new Margaret Thatcher. That happened, right? The great Margaret Thatcher. No, I don't think so. But you're gonna learn little things like defund the police. That doesn't work, does it, huh? You're gonna learn. Because everything about Kamala Harris rollout, it's phony and it's fake. Did you see when President Obama and Michelle called? Did you see? Hello? Hello? Yes. Yes. Who is this? Oh, this is Michelle and Barack. Oh, so surprised to hear. They got 4 cameras in front. Oh, I'm so surprised it's on speakerphone. Listen, we just want to congratulate you on destroying Joe Biden. I mean, on winning the... Hey, is Joe Biden gonna... Was that the phoniest phone call you've ever seen? How do you think, Dan? What do you think? Dan Muser, great congressman. What do you think? Was that a phony phone call? You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't get away. In your district, you wouldn't get away with it, would you? But she's a defund the police radical trying to pass herself off as a tough on crime prosecutor. She wasn't tough on crime. She's only tough on guys like me because they want to go after their political opponents. And we won the big case in Florida. Did you see? We won it. And he had a similar case, but it was much worse, and he didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He had a similar case, and you know, the special counsel, which is basically special prosecutor, adjudged him to be essentially mentally incompetent, with poor memory, but a nice old guy. He's not old. You know, 81 is not old. I have friends that are 95 that are still. Bernie Marcus, founder of Home Depot, 95 years old, still sharp, still sharp. I spoke to him the other day. I said, I think you're smarter now than you were 30 years ago. I don't know what's going on. I said, what's going on? It's working. 81 is not old. And, but he's different. He's a bad 81. He's a bad 81. And he's destroying our country, I'll tell you. And she's worse than he is. She is actually worse than he is because she's a real radical left. He's a phony radical left. He didn't believe this stuff. He didn't believe in open borders, and she does. She wants to open your borders. She wants to have all-electric cars. She loves the all-electric car mandate. She destroyed San Francisco. But she's the architect of the border invasion, trying to pretend she's strong on border security. She's now pretending that she was never called the border czar. She was called the border czar the first day. She's the border czar. And she never went. She actually went, you know, they say, they fact-check me. Anything I say is like a little... She actually went to a beautiful part of the border. I would love to take my First Lady wife there to have dinner. It's beautiful, very safe. No, she didn't go to the real border, did she, Front Row Joe? She went to a nice little place, was there for a short period of time and left. So she's never really been to the border, and she's the border czar, and our country's being invaded with people from prisons and people from mental institutions and terrorists. She's a failed vice president leading a failed administration while trying to convince you that she represents hope and change. Well, she does represent change. She wants to turn us into a communist country. That's her change. She was voted the most unpopular vice president in history. That's hard for a vice president to be that unpopular, right? Just like Biden will go down as the single worst president in the history of our nation. The happiest man is Jimmy Carter. He's an old guy right now. He's an old guy, but he's happy because his administration is considered brilliant. Brilliant. by comparison to this disaster that we have right now. In her speech in Atlanta last night, Kamala Harris even tried to outbrand a new Southern accent. Did you hear a new accent? If I ever did that, all of those people back there, look at them, look at all those cameras. That's something. Oh, when I go through hell, I'd have a week of hell if I ever tried to do that. The contrast could not be more stark. On the one hand, you have a radical left puppet candidate who is fake, fake, fake. And on the other hand, you have a president who will fight, fight, fight for America. This is a hell of a big arena. How many seats is this? Looks like Madison Square Garden. This is a big, beautiful place. Wow. I didn't care. Although they'd prefer that we be in an arena. I don't know why. But we're not giving up the outdoor rallies. You know, all those people that we had to turn away today at an outdoor rally, we had 107,000 people show up in New Jersey. 107,000. But you know, in the South Bronx, we had 25,000 people. It was like a love fest. South Bronx, tough place, but it was a lot of love. No matter how much Kamala Harris tries to change her image, she cannot change this fact. She is the most extreme liberal candidate in the history of our country by far. She's an extreme radical left lunatic. And you know, I've been saying for the last 6 months, I've been saying about politicians, because I really know politicians. Well, I've dealt with them on both sides, and you know, then I said, let's do this, you know, thank you. But when a politician comes out early on with an idea like she wants to defund the police and all these other things she wants to do, really bad things, that's where they're at. They're going to be there eventually, right? Mike Kelly, stand up, Mike, will you please? This guy, he used to stand up. He's my friend. He endorsed me on day one, right? Day one. Day one. He endorsed me before I was running. He said, that guy's got to run. I endorsed him. I didn't even run. How many endorsements do I have? Well, you got Kelly of Pennsylvania. I wasn't running. Anyway, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. He would stand out at those outdoor rallies when it was 10 degrees below zero and it was 97 degrees out without a shirt on. It's not that pretty a sight. Not that pretty, but he had no fear. He's a tough guy and they love him. They love you in this state. Kamala Harris co-sponsored Bernie Sanders' $32 trillion socialist takeover of the entire U.S. health care system. Think of this. U.S. health care, it would mean that we're going to have to raise your taxes, bankrupt our country, and she supported outlawing all of the private health insurance. A lot of people in this room have some people want private health. Some of it's incredible. You go to these companies, they're doing an incredible job. They want to be able to, she wants that banned and she wants that outlawed. You can't buy that anymore. You're paying for it, but it's great stuff. I mean, some of the companies have unbelievable, the golden plans and all that, and she wants it to be ended. She pledged to give free taxpayer-funded health care to all illegal aliens. Think of that. Oh, and she'll do that, which will totally destroy our social security system. She sponsored a bill to give illegal aliens taxpayer-funded lawyers so they could sue us. And she called for abolishing ICE. These are unbelievable patriots, by the way. They're almost as tough as our congressman sitting in the front. They're almost as tough as the man that's going to be your next governor, by the way. He's tough, too. He's tough. He's a great military hero. And he'll come up. I'm allowed to have him up for a little while, right? Just a couple of minutes, right? He's great. He's great. And I hear you're doing very well, but you get ready, you got to knock them dead. She compared ICE agents to members of the KKK. She likened Border Patrol agents to practitioners of human slavery. We have a lot of those great people here tonight, like Brandon Judd, the head of the union, Paul. We have so many different people. And they didn't like that analogy too much. She voted in favor of deadly sanctuary cities numerous times. She supports open borders. That's all you'd have to hear. I think 2 words. You know, they say, sure, go down a list. We have a list of 25 things. All you really have to say is 2 things. Open borders, defund the police. The rest is all, but, you know, although she is going to kill Social Security, because by putting all of these illegal aliens into Social Security, it's dead. It's dead. She opposes even saying the words illegal alien and radical Islamic terrorists. She backs mass amnesty, and citizenship for all illegals. She supports mandatory gun confiscation. Would anybody mind, Mr. Congressman, would they mind having their guns ripped out of their arms as they enter their house or their apartment? I don't think so. I don't think. She said that 70 to 80% tax rate is, quote, a very bold idea, something that we have to discuss very seriously. She likes it. And you know, all my life I've watched politicians, and they've always said, we will reduce your taxes, we will reduce your taxes, we will cut your taxes. They want to give you a tax increase of 5 times what you're paying now. How the hell do you get elected? This country is so screwed up. Everything's backwards. We want open border, we want taxing. How do you like to be a politician? We want open borders, we want tax increases, we want all electric cars so that you can go 15 minutes before you charge it up. And for all the congressmen that are here, in the Midwest, they built 8 charging stations. Now, you know what that is? That's like a gas pump with electricity coming out of it, just a charging terminal. It cost $9 billion. Did you hear that, Mike? Did you hear that? Scott, I said, he's another tough. We got tough congressmen here. These are tough cookies, these Pennsylvania guys. Wow, look at that. We're going to introduce them in a second. Scott. So they spent $9 billion on 8 charging stations, 2 of which never worked. I don't think any of them worked. She wants government intervention to slash consumption of red meat. They don't want red meat. That means they don't want your cows. Get rid of your cows. Would anybody like to keep red meat? Raise your hand. You know, think of it. Borders and electric mandate and all of the things. Red meat. Oh, how the hell do you get elected, right? You know how they got elected? By cheating. They get elected by cheating. Because they want to raise your taxes by 5 times. Oh, please vote for me. I'm going to raise your taxes 5 times higher. But the red meat is to fight climate change, okay? Climate change. She supports ending cash bail to immediately release criminals upon arrest. They kill somebody. No bail, don't worry about it. No cash. You just killed 3 people. No, let's let them out in Harrisburg. It's a wonderful place. And in 2020, she personally urged her followers to donate money to bail out the violent rioters, get them right out of jail, including murderers. You know what that was all about, right? In Minnesota, which I think we have a good chance of winning. Hasn't been won since 1972 by a Republican. And we're leading. Tom Emmer's going to bring that one home, they tell me. He's going to bring it home. This November, the American people are going to reject Kamala Harris's dangerous liberal extremism in a massive landslide. We're going to, too big to rig, right? Too big to rig. Too big to rig. We're not going to let her turn the United States into a communist San Francisco colony. We're not going to let it happen. That's what they want to do. They want to destroy our country. She's the worst. She was a bad DA long before you had your DA, long before you had some of these DAs that you have, as you know, in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, but in Los Angeles, all over the place, all over the place. You have bad DAs. You have radical left horrible DAs that are funded by Soros and others, and they're weak. They're just weak on crime. They don't mind if somebody murders somebody. They don't want them to go to jail. You can kill somebody now. Our country is sick. The mindset of our country is sick. And we're not going to let her do to Pennsylvania what she did to California. She destroyed San Francisco, one of the best cities in the world, and it's in tatters. So she's a liberal from California. She ruined the state. She ruined this one of the greatest cities in the world. You know, 15 years ago, a great friend of mine, Bob Tisch, great guy, who's an owner of the New York Giants and a very smart guy, wonderful guy too. Maybe even longer, a little longer than 15. He said San Francisco is the best city in our country. And today it's a disaster, just a disaster. He passed away quite a while ago, and he would look down and say, what the hell happened to that city?
We're going to keep monitoring the rally and bring you any news as it comes. But joining us now is Lee Zeldin, former New York congressman and gubernatorial candidate, and Chris Bedford, author of the Beltway Brief newsletter. All right, Lee, that was his first rally in Pennsylvania since getting shot. What's the biggest takeaway?
Well, clearly the president is focused on defining his opponent, and you have this long far-left record of Kamala Harris
in our country. And today it's a disaster, just a disaster. He passed away quite a while ago, and he would look down and say, what the hell happened to that city? But he thought San Francisco was one of the greats. He thought Chicago was one of the greats. You know, Chicago on July 4th weekend had 117 shootings and 17 people died. Think of it. This is not even believable. When you hear about Afghanistan and the horrible job that this president did with Afghanistan, a low point, but they don't have anything like that. In one of the most astoundingly phony moments in her speech last night, Kamala Harris bragged that, quote, I will proudly put my record against Donald Trump's any day of the week. I will put it against Donald Trump. This got one of the worst records in anywhere. Well, Kamala, let's go. Challenge accepted. Are you ready? Let's compare our record point by point. I can't believe I'm doing it. You know, the weird thing, I mean, 2 weeks ago I was talking about Biden. I didn't even know her name. Nobody did. Kamala. Hello. Beautiful. I didn't even know her name. Kamala. I heard she was a rotten border czar. That's about all I knew about her. Her only job was the border, and she never went there. But 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was all about Biden. Then I kept hearing they were going to steal it from him, and I said, you know, it's hard to do because I understand when you have the delegates. He had all the delegates. He had 100% of the delegates. He had 14 million votes. I said, you can't really do it. But then they threatened him very strongly. They said, you're incompetent, and we're going to get you out. He just won, you know. No, they happened to be right. He was incompetent, but these are minor details. No, he just won. He had all the votes. And he could have said no, but he was afraid. And he's an angry man right now. Here's the big question I have. Will he be invited to the Democrat National Convention? Will he be invited? Mr. Congressman, I don't know. Now he will because I'm mentioning it. If I didn't mention it, he would not be invited. But now they have to invite him. But you know what's crazy, the craziest thing? So you don't mind if I go off teleprompter all the time. It's such a shame. I have these great speechwriters, they really are. Ross and Vince, they're great. They're the best speechwriters. And I hardly speak about this, but I could read the most gorgeous speech, but you may be bored to tears. No, they're beautiful. The words are beautiful. Everything's great. The sun will rise. The moon will set. The oceans will glisten. I say, that's beautiful, but I'm not sure that Harrisburg wants to hear that stuff. What do you think, Congressman? What do you think? Doctor, I don't think so. No, they are great, but I tend to go off about 75% of the time. But you know, the hard part is that 3-4 weeks ago, I was talking about Biden. He's incompetent. He's a horrible president. He's the worst president in the history of the country. Now I say she's the worst vice president, which is true. She's considered the worst. She's the most unpopular vice president in the history of the country. She did a transformation. You know, the press is very corrupt. You know that. They gave her a transformation like Houdini. That was a Houdini-like, that was a magic trick. But don't worry, she's going to fall because it's not about him or her, it's about the policies. They're the same and they're horrible, right? But they gave her it's sort of like, I don't know if anybody watch UFC as an example. Do you watch it, right? Dana White, the great Dana White. Did you see him? He introduced me the other day at our convention. We had the greatest convention in the history of politics, in my opinion. Thank you, Milwaukee and Wisconsin, and the arena was beautiful. It was an unbelievable. But Dana White introduced me, and he heads up UFC. He's done an incredible job. But it's almost like you're having a fight between two guys, and one guy is getting beat up bad. Then he goes to a debate, right? The debate didn't work out too well. How did the debate work out for him? I don't think so good, Scott. The debate didn't work out exactly good. Then he tried to recover from the debate by going out every day, and it got worse and worse. It was a basic disaster. But it's like having two fighters, and the one guy's getting beat up really badly, and they say, all right, stop the fight. Come on out. I'll put a new one in. That's what we have here. Kamala is the new fighter. Who cares? Under my leadership, we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. You know that because you didn't have people sleeping on your lawn all night. We ended catch and release. We stopped asylum, fraud, coal. We got remain in Mexico. Remember that one? You think that was easy to get? I call up the president of Mexico, a friend of mine. He's a socialist, but still he was a friend of mine. He gave us many, many thousands of troops to guard our border while we were building the wall. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and then they didn't want to finish it up, which could have taken place very quickly. But think of it. But, we got remain, think of it, remain in Mexico. That means you can't come into our country. You have to remain in Mexico until you get approved, of which very few people got approved. You think that was easy? That wasn't easy. Negotiated historic safe third agreements, which are complex. I won't waste your time, but they were great. With Central American nations, built 571 miles. Think of that, a border wall. We're going to add another 200, far more than I said I was going to build. And it was working. It was working. It was good. We had the best illegal immigration non-flow, I call it. They were having a hard time. Also, drugs were way down. Human trafficking was way down. It's human trafficking in women, mostly. It sounds ancient, human trafficking. It sounds like something from 1,000 years ago, but it's as big a business, in a sense, as the drug business. And the reason is because of the Internet. The Internet made human trafficking a very, very big and horrible business. They traffic in women. They put them in the trunk of a car. They put them in the back seat, and they close it up, and you can't even breathe. And they bring them across the border. We had knocked it down cold, and now it's at a level 5 times greater than it ever was before. Nobody's there to check. Nobody's to look at the car. Nobody knows who's there, who's in it. But you can see it on a certain chart that I have. This chart saved my life. Where is that chart? Chart. I'm going to sleep with that chart for the rest of my life. That chart. The amazing thing, the people that operate the computers and all the brilliant equipment we have backstage. She said to me, she's great. She's great. She should come out. Just tell her to come out here for a second. Quick. You got to get her out. She's never done this before. She saved my life, in a sense. I said, you saved my life. Here she is. Wow. she's a computer genius. She saved my life. No. So, you know, the story is, but that chart, I only used it probably less than 20% of the time. So in other words, we do the rallies and stuff. Sometimes I'll pull it down, sometimes I won't, because I do things a little bit at random while I'm up here. Hello, look at a big fella back there. But I do things a little bit at random. But two things about the chart. It's always on my left, which means I'm gone. It's always on my left. If it was on my left, I have Mr. Governor, Mr. Future Governor. I have no chance, because it would have been perfect hit. And it's only used a little bit. And I always use it at the end of a speech. I never used it early. In fact, you were saying today, we were really sort of flabbergasted because you called for it at the very beginning of your speech. And that chart, I'm so proud of it. Now I like it much more than I liked it before. But see the arrow on the bottom? That's the lowest level of illegal immigration in the history of our country recorded. And that was the last week of my presidency, Mike. So that was the last week, and look what happened to our country after that. And those are now a little bit old, because if you look on the right, it's a little bit old. Those numbers are much higher. They right now would go off the ceiling. And that's what happened to our country in a short period of time, 3.5 years. But look at that number and look at that arrow. So anyway, much more importantly right now, I say, I'm talking about illegal immigration real quick. I said, you know what, pull up the chart. Pull it up. And they weren't ready but they're so good. And I said, wow, that was so quick. There's nobody over here except for this lunatic. And because the crowd was massive, as far as the eye could see, that's why I love those outdoor sites, because you don't have to send 20,000 people back home. And I hate to do that. They come out and they want to get in, and then you get the seats. Would anybody like to give up your seat? I thought you were nicer people than that in Pennsylvania. Anyway, so I say chart, and I go like this, and the chart, pew. So a couple of things. She told me today, she said, you know, the amazing thing is you always call for the chart at the end of the speech, not the beginning. So that was one factor. That's crazy. It's always on your left, not your right. It happened to be on the right this time. I don't think I've ever seen it on the right. And various other things. And if I'm here, it's over. If I'm here, it's no good. I had to be exactly, because he was exactly where that very beautiful woman in the white is, right? Stand up. That's exactly. And my son said, that's not a long distance, 100. I don't know so much about shooting, other than I'm very good for the Second Amendment, I can tell you, but I don't know so much about shooting. But I know about sports, I know about golf. He said, that's like sinking a 2-foot putt, Dad. That would be the equivalent, is that right? He actually said it might be less than that, because some people can't sink a 2-foot putt, like Biden. I would say Biden. Biden can't say. But that's like sinking. Did anybody see the Bryson DeChambeau thing? Did you? That was cool. We had a good time. He's a great guy, great young athlete. So all these things, and then you figure, what are the odds that happened, right? Where you're literally exactly there. You hadn't made the full turn. But that chart will always be my world's most favorite chart for a lot of reasons. Number one is that day in Butler, Pennsylvania. And number two is, look at those numbers. That was the lowest number of illegal aliens that we've ever had. So it really was a very important, that was a very important thing. It was done by Border Patrol. Now let's examine the record of Border Czar Harris. She inherited the strongest border in U.S. history and immediately turned it into the worst border nightmare in the history of the world. There's no country in the world that's ever had a border like this. I think the real number is 20 million people, maybe more. Nobody knows. You have a thing called gotaways. We have millions of gotaways, meaning people that weren't caught, they got away. Upon taking office, Harris and Biden stopped wall construction, halted all deportations, protected sanctuary cities, ended remain in Mexico and our asylum cooperation agreements, which are very important, and allowed a gigantic invasion of our country bringing in millions and millions of illegal aliens at levels never seen before. Now, actually, other than that, I thought she's doing a very good job, right? She's done a wonderful job. She's the worst ever. And she's going to be your president. She will destroy our country. This November, the American people are going to compare these records, and they're going to tell Baltazar Harris, you have done a horrible job. You're a disgrace to our country. You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. Get out. Get the hell out of here. But Kamala is protected by the fake news. They're trying to delete everything she said. Hey, did you ever see the Unselect Committee? The Unselect Committee on January 6th, did you see where they went and deleted and destroyed all evidence? Was deleted and destroyed. So I think, Dan, you and all of my friends here, they should be indicted for that. They destroyed evidence. You know why? Because the evidence showed that we were innocent. The evidence showed that Nancy Pelosi should have had protection at the Capitol that I offered her, and they turned it down. The evidence showed that all these stories were fake, including me wanting to grab a big, strong Secret Service agent around the neck. Think of this. Think of this. I'm in a car. I say, fellas, I'd love to go down to the Capitol. Sir, we don't think it's good because, you're very exposed there. It's all that's okay. I said, you don't think we could? No. So I said, all right, where do you want to go? They'll go back to the White House. That's the experience. This one person had me getting extremely upset. I don't get upset. When somebody smart says, sir, you're probably better. And nothing was happening. It was just people were walking down. Remember, patriotically, right? Right? Right. So they had me coming from the back of the car. Now, these guys are very strong. They're young and strong. Not as strong as me, but they're strong. And I grabbed the one guy driving, and he's got arms like this. I grabbed him, and I was rebuffed. And then I went over to the right, and I think he's like a world champion karate guy, right? Like a very tough cookie. Bobby. His name's Bobby. That's all I know, but I know him well. He's a good guy. And I grabbed him around the neck. And I began to twist and turn. And he was in tremendous pain because of the power of Trump. Tremendous pain. And then I went back to the White House, and I started throwing hamburgers at the wall. This is the story this person told. So they went to the Secret Service. They found out it was all bullshit. Everything. All made up. It was just made up. Which most people, honestly, most people would think that. Think of me grabbing these two strong, tough guys. That's what they do. The one guy said, if somebody ever put their arms around me, he's trained automatically to go with his fingers like that. Just what he's trained. I like other things better, personally. I'd like to run the country better. That's what I'd like to do, They're good with the finger. They're good with their fingers into the eye. The fingers into the eye, and you have a tendency to immediately let go and get a towel and start crying because it hurts. They say, oh, that hurts. No, it was all made up stuff, It was all made up stuff. But wouldn't you think it is? Who would believe Trump was so angry he grabbed the one guy who was rebuffed. Then he grabbed the other one around the neck. These people are sick. Who would believe it? But probably some people do, even if it's 5 people. But some people would believe it. They hear it. They deleted everything because the stories turned out to be false. They deleted everything. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops or National Guard. If we had 500, you wouldn't have had a problem. And what you never see is the crowd. The crowd was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. And a small portion walked peacefully and patriotically down to the Capitol. You remember the term? Peacefully and patriotically. He's horrible. It's insurrection. If you have an insurrection, you don't say peacefully and patriotically, right, Mike? You say, let's go. No, these are really bad people. These are crooked people. And then her daughter, you saw that about a month ago, her daughter taped her saying that it was her fault the day, their daughter is a cinematographer. I'm sure Nancy's thrilled. They just released a tape where Nancy is saying, this is my fault. This is during the thing because she didn't accept my offer. She said, this is my fault. I could have stopped this. Now she's trying to say, well, she didn't really mean that. No, these are bad people. They're trying to delete everything that she said over the last, think of it, this is on Kamala, it's no different. Over the last 10 years, that's controversial or bad. It's like defund the police, the fact that she was given authority over the border, that, you know, they're trying to say that under no circumstances was she even in charge of the border. And the fake news is trying to delete everything. Are you seeing what's going on? They're trying to delete everything. But you know, it's a wonderful, the internet is wonderful in certain ways. We have every single copy of every article, but they're trying to delete it. Under crazy Kamala's policies, you know, when I got hit, everybody thought I was going to be a nice guy. And they thought I changed. Remember, just before the Republican convention. And nobody thought I'd be there. You know, it's not great to be there when your ear is slightly throbbing. Let's go to the convention, darling, to the First Lady. Let's go. But I got there. Next day I left, right? And it was the greatest convention. And it was like a convention like no other. It was a convention that we were all so proud of. But they all said, Trump is going to be a nice man now. He came close to death. And I really agreed with that for about 8 hours or so. And then I realized they were trying to put me in prison for doing absolutely nothing wrong. They went to judges who are crooked judges. They went to judges who are fake. They had prosecutors who are Democrat radical lefts, and always in areas where it's like 3% Republican or less. And I said, you know, these are bad people. So I was nice for about, what would you say, Dan, 3, 4, 5 hours? And then I said, these are bad people. We have to win this battle. And you know what? They're going to become nicer when we win. But we're going to have to win, I believe, to make them reasonable because they are crazy. They are crazy. Under Kamala's policies, criminals, rapists, and vicious gang members are pouring in from South America, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, and insane asylum. You know, an insane asylum is a step above, right? This is, oh, they go crazy when they want to try and say, he's cognitively impaired. You know, I stand up here for 2 hours and I speak without a mistake. But when I say Hannibal Lecter, they say, why does he keep mentioning it? Because Hannibal Lecter was a serious psycho, right? He was Silence of the Lambs. Dr. Hannibal Lecter, he'd like to have you for dinner. See the man with the wall? Stand up. Look at this guy. He's here so much. He's great. He's great. He's a Trump voter. I don't think we have to worry about him, do we? He's a Trump voter all the way. But Hannibal Lecter would like to have you for dinner. But these people are now in our country, and they always, you know, actually it's quite clever, I think, but, you know, what do you do? But they're always saying, like, he mentions Hannibal Lecter. It doesn't make sense. So it makes a lot of sense. They're coming into our country. And they're coming in from insane asylums, which are closing all over the world. It's not just South America, because we have the worst people representing our country. They laugh at the stupidity of these people all over the world. They're coming from the Congo in Africa, 22 prisoners right out of prisons from the Congo in Africa, not just South America. Meanwhile, our crime rate is going up. How about where they say our crime rate's going down? We just had 117 people shot. You could take just Chicago and the whole nation's crime rate. Look, these are bad people. They're phony people. They're liars. They cheat on elections. They do a lot of bad things. And we have to win this election because crime statistics are a disaster. They're made up by people that work in the White House. And obviously the crime is getting worse because we have probably 20 million people in our country right now, and every single day you read about one of these horrible monsters from parts unknown who raped a young girl, killed her, cut him up, uses knives, not guns, because it's a slower death. These are monsters, and we have them in our country, and we're going to deport them at a level like nobody's ever seen. We're going to get them the hell out of our country. They're going back to the country from which they came. Because we have become a dumping ground for the world, and we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to get rid of these liberal lunatics like Kamala. Just yesterday, it was reported that more than 1,000 members of the savage Venezuelan gang, Trendy Arguay, are plotting to conduct ambush attacks on police and law enforcement in the United States. All the while, Harris and Biden sit in the White House and try and figure out who's dumber. They sit in the White House. Think of it. Massive numbers of Venezuelan gang members. Now, Venezuela is very smart. They sent them into our country. And then you read that crime is down 72% in Venezuela, which it is. On Sunday, in a separate incident, a Venezuelan illegal alien criminal let in the border by our border czar, Harris, shot a female police officer in Texas. You read about it. Multiple times with a rifle. Thankfully, the officer is perhaps going to survive. They don't know yet, but probably. But most victims are not so lucky. In Texas last month, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari was tied up, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death by two illegal aliens who Biden and Harris released into the United States. If Border Czar Harris stays in charge, every single week will bring never-ending streams of illegal alien rapists, bloodthirsty killers, and child predators to go after our sons and our daughters and our wives and our husbands. They're letting horrible people into our country. They're poisoning our country. By contrast, if I am elected on day one, we will begin the largest deportation operation in American history. And we will immediately deport all of the criminals that Border Czar Harris has allowed to enter our country. They'll be deported. But no comparison of our immigration records would be complete without considering the terrorists that this crazy border czar of ours is letting into America. By the way, can anybody imagine her as, in all fairness, we want to be politically correct and all that, great, who cares? Can anybody imagine her dealing with President Xi of China, who's a fierce individual, fierce person? You know, she was sent to deal with Putin to keep him from invading Ukraine, which, by the way, he would have never done if I were president. Israel wouldn't have been attacked. He would not have attacked Ukraine. The recent hits on Israel wouldn't have taken place. We wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had that horrible disaster in Afghanistan. None of these things would have happened, would be respected. Again, now we're laughed at. All over the world, they're laughing at us. When I was president, terror watch list encounters at the border reached 1 year, and I don't believe it. It was done by Border Patrol and ICE. They have 1 year where it was zero. They said, and I don't even believe that myself, but you know what? I'll take it. Because the charts are usually the other way. Zero. And then after, and it was part of that we just looked at, but we had zero terrorists reported coming in 2019, I believe the year was 2019. Zero. So let's say it was 10 or 20. Now it's thousands of people coming in. I never believed the zero, but I'll tell you, we'll take it. But assuming it was 10, 15, 20, thousands and thousands of terrorists are pouring into our country. Under Kamala Harris, thousands of terrorists have been let right in. And according to news reports, the Biden-Harris administration has absolutely no idea who they are or where the hell they come from. Just come on into our country. But you're going to be finding this out. You're going to have to be, you're going to have a migrant crime statistic that's going to rival anything that we've ever had. And the only thing good about these people, they're very tough people. They come out of those jails and those prisons and those mental institutions. The only thing that is really good about them is they make our criminals look like very nice people. It's true. Our criminals that we used to fear, we don't fear anymore, Doctor. They're like nice people compared to the people that are coming into our country. No candidate who would knowingly keep the border open as terrorists pour across it can ever be trusted to be commander-in-chief. You can't do it. Can't let it happen. If she becomes your president, and I think worse than Biden, and he's gone, he's shot. But if she becomes your president, our country is finished, I'll tell you. And Pennsylvania, your beautiful Commonwealth, it's always good when you remember it's a Commonwealth. He would call it a state often. Remember when Biden I used to love this guy, because you were on pins and needles watching him speak. You know, when's he going to blow it? And it would always happen. Remember, he'd finish the speech and he couldn't find the stair. Go. And then these handsome men would run up and grab him and help him. And every time I imitate it, the First Lady tells me, why do you keep doing that? Because they keep saying you can't find the stairs off the podium. You know, you've only got about 9 stairways off the podium. But unlike Kamala Harris, I will keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. We're going to keep them out. We're going to be safe. We're going to have a safe place. Fact is, 4 years ago, we were respected like never before. I would say like never before. We were respected by China, by Iran. Look at Iran. Iran is going wild now, aren't they? You know, Iran was broke when I was president. They didn't have money to give to Hamas. They didn't have money to give to Hezbollah. You see what's going on now with Hezbollah now. You're going to end up in a world war. You're going to end up in a third world war pretty soon with this guy. Between Ukraine and Russia and the stupidity with I will get that negotiated and ended before I ever take office. I'll do it after the election as president-elect. In addition to her atrocious record on border security, Kamala Harris would also obliterate Pennsylvania's economy. You know about that. She's against fracking. She's against oil drilling. She wants everybody to have one electric car and share it with the neighbors. Harris has stated repeatedly that she supports, quote, banning fracking. I ban fracking. I will ban it on my first day. Now she's denying it. Remember, a politician always goes back to what their original thought was, right? And she co-sponsored the $100 trillion Green New scam designed to abolish the oil, coal, and natural gas industries entirely. We have more liquid gold under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia by far. And under me, we took it from 4th place and 3rd place. We took it to 1st place by a lot. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. We were going to make so much money. We were going to pay off debt and reduce your taxes still further. Now, you can't do anything with these lunatics. Under a Harris presidency, 423,000 Pennsylvania jobs are linked to fracking. They'd all be demolished. She's against fracking. She's not going to allow you to frack. She's not going to allow you to frack. And the only reason they're allowing it now, you know, they cut it way back. That's what caused the inflation. And then he opened it up again back to the Trump days. He opened it up to the same because it's similar, because he wanted to try and get reelected. They didn't know his party was going to overthrow him. It was a coup. This was a coup of a president. He will be famous. He will be more famous for the coup than the bad job he's done, okay? But this was a coup of the President of the United States. This was like a South American, you know, you read about South America, every week they have a coup. And they also do the attacks on political opponents, by the way. Your economy would take a $41 billion hit. This is Pennsylvania. Cutting billions of dollars from your state and local budgets, slashing funding for your schools and police forces, and plunging Pennsylvania into severe economic depression. Enjoy it. Look, if they get in, your state is screwed. Your state is, you guys are screwed. Good luck, everybody. Have fun in Congress, Mike. But I will never let that happen. But you don't need to take my word for it alone. Kamala's anti-American energy crusade. Let's just listen to her. Now, she's a totally, oh, no, I love fracking. Let's just see what her video says. She had it taped just a little while ago. Let's go.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Okay? If I said that, nobody would believe it. So, and that's where she is. She's a radical left person who destroyed San Francisco, and she'll destroy the country just like she did California and San Francisco. She was the leader of that pack that destroyed San Francisco. It's not only Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, he's another beauty. Oh, we're doing great in the state. Everyone's leaving. We're doing great. The state's doing wonderfully. They do have wonderful weather, and it's a beautiful place, but it's overridden with crime. He's doing such a terrible job. He's a con man. You know, I watched him in the great Sean Hannity show, and he was saying like, no, the state's never done better, never done. It's all a fake. It's all lies. The state is a disaster. They're moving to Texas, Florida, Tennessee. They're moving to a lot of North Carolina, South Carolina. When we win this November, we will end the Biden-Harris war on American energy, and we will end their terrible war on fracking. Fracking is incredible. The money you make in Pennsylvania, you could quadruple your taxes. If you lost that industry, you could quadruple your taxes. The policy of the Trump administration will be to drill, baby, drill. Right? Right? I will also terminate the Biden-Harris electric vehicle mandate on day one and save the U.S. auto industry from destruction. We are going to rebuild our auto industry, and the United Auto Workers are mostly going to vote for me, but, you know, they have a head of the United Auto Workers who's a fool. He's giving our auto industry to China by allowing this electric mandate to even be thought of. And again, I'm all for electric cars. There's a certain little section that wants to have electric. I can understand that, but it's a small section. They want to have gasoline-powered cars. They want to have hybrids. And they're going to have that. They don't want to stop every 15 minutes. They refuse to stop. You know, I have a friend of mine got an electric car, and he was used to driving from Kentucky, great state, to Washington. And he'd drive, and, you know, he'd drive it. That'll be it. Now he's driving it. He had to stop 6 times. He said, what the hell is going on? He thought it was good for the environment. It's not good for, you know, he's a idealistic kind of guy. I think I'm going to do something good for the environment. He got rid of that thing so fast, your head would spin. And it's great if you want to go to the candy store and back. Then you plug it in your garage. It's no wonder the Democrat Party and their thugs are so desperate to stop us. They know that we are the only ones who can stop them. The only ones. You know, this is a movement, Make America Great Again. This is a movement the likes of which no country but our country has never seen before. MAGA. MAGA! No country's ever seen anything like it. Remember when Biden would get up, we will stop MAGA. He had no idea. I said, Joe, do you know what it means? No, not really. No, it means make America great again. We don't want to stop it. All of their persecution is only happening because I am running for president and leading big in the polls. Oh, if I wasn't, I wouldn't have any of these lawsuits. Oh, they wouldn't be suing me because I'm breaking their ass also. They wouldn't be suing me. And they're doing this because I'm running and I'm leading by a lot. We're leading by a lot in this state, by the way, in this Commonwealth. We're leading by a lot in our Commonwealth. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. We're not going to allow it to happen. And every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. Thank you very much. Because I'm being indicted for you. Did you like my mugshot? Did you like the mugshot? Lovely. My father's looking down, my mother and father, they're looking down because they're definitely in heaven. They made heaven. They're great. They're looking down, they said, I can't believe my son took a mugshot. This is unbelievable. But it's the #1 selling mugshot in history. It beat Elvis and it beat Frank Sinatra. Did you know that? Frank Sinatra had a big one. Did you know he got arrested for something? And I think Elvis had a fight at a gas station or something. But Elvis was one, Frank Sinatra was two, and I'm proud to admit, and I'm proud to tell you that you have made mine bigger than both of them by a lot. It's the biggest selling mugshot ever. And I still haven't figured out whether or not I'm happy about it. I'm not sure. In one way, I'm thrilled. In another way, I'm not sure I like it. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom, which is true. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they are not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will continue to stand in their way. I will always be here. I'll be here. I don't know. I'm getting tired of protecting you, but I love it. We're going to protect you. We're going to go. And soon you won't need protection because soon you're going to have a great country again. It's true. You won't need protection. The country will protect you. But think of it. I say this to... I got indicted more than Al Capone, the great Al Capone. Can you imagine? Al Capone, Scarface, the meanest man you've ever met. I have him beat. But we're pleased to be joined today by some fantastic Pennsylvania patriots, friends of mine, incredible people, starting with the next U.S. Senator from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, David McCormick. He's incredible. Come up. David, come up here. Come. He's a military hero. And honestly, you know, your senator, I don't think I ever met him in 4 years. Nobody knows who he is. It's the weirdest thing. It's almost like, how do they keep getting elected? You got to elect this guy. He's a war hero. He's a national hero. He's a brilliant man. He went out, he made a fortune and all that stuff. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. It means he's smart, right? Do we agree? It means he's smart. You guys didn't make that much, but you're very smart anyway. But David has been a friend of mine. He's an incredible man and respected all over the place. And you know, you have one chance to get a guy like this in. A lot of people, after watching my experience, they're not doing this anymore, are they? So I'd like to introduce Dave McCormick, a great guy. Hopefully he's going to be your next senator. You're going to win, and you're going to win big, David.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you so much, all of you. And listen, in Pennsylvania, we know, Mr. President, this is the most important election of our lifetime. We know it. And we also know that this is ground zero, which is going to put you back in the White House and a majority in the Senate. Right here, sir. Right here in Pennsylvania. And I want to welcome you back to Pennsylvania after Butler. We're so glad you're here, sir. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I want to say what you all know, which is this is an incredibly important choice because we can continue to have the failed, horrible policies of Biden, Harris, and Casey. And I say Casey because he votes 98% of the time, that destroys our economy, open borders, the fentanyl crisis, crime, the war on fossil fuels. But it only gets worse. It only gets worse under Harris, Casey. It only gets worse. And that is why we need strong leadership, common sense leadership. And when I go on the campaign trail, Mr. President, the thing I hear that people want most is strength. And I tell them, listen, I'm a combat veteran. I'm an Army wrestler. And when I was standing there in Butler and saw those bullets flying, and I've seen people get shot at before, and you came up and put that fist in the air and said, fight, fight, fight. I said to everybody, that's strength. That's what we need for America. That's why we're going to win on November 5th. God bless this Commonwealth.
Wow. That's great. You know, David, it is true. David was in Butler, and he was sitting exactly there. And you know, Corey was sitting right behind him. Can you imagine? Corey was killed. He was sitting right behind David. And David didn't flinch. He didn't move. I mean, some people moved. Actually, I think it was really known that when bullets are fired in a stadium, everyone really gets moving fast. They call it a stampede. Nobody moved. You looked at the people behind me, right? Everyone's seen those people. Those people have become legendary. That was just a small group. The main tens of thousands of people around here, you couldn't even see the end. Nobody ran. Nobody moved. They knew I was in trouble. They said, he's in trouble. If you went to a soccer stadium where you'll have a bullet go off, one bullet, the whole place runs for the exits. Nobody ran. And how about the man behind me with the black outfit and the green floppy hat? He's like this. David, did you see him? He's right there. He's standing. He's looking. Right? Where? Get up here. Is that him? Yeah, that's... Wow. That's great, huh? Well, you're good. You can be in a foxhole with me anytime, man. Wow. Thank you. That's great. That was a hell of a day, huh? But there were a number of them back there that were just brave. Everybody. There was nobody that fled. I think nobody fled, right? They were brave people, and they were looking, and they were pointing. They saw it. They were pointing. It was incredible. And one of these crowd control people that came in afterwards said they've never seen it where bullets are fired. And I'll tell you something. David was standing and sitting right, literally, the bullets were going over your head. They were going over my head, too, the second group. But you weren't a flincher either, were you? You weren't. And Corey, right alongside of you, right behind him. And you got to vote for this man. He's a hero, and he's a great gentleman. He'll be a great senator. And it's time for a change. Time for a change. I mean, a vote for Dave McCormick is a vote to seal our border, stop migrant crime, defeat inflation, bring down prices, and defend Pennsylvania energy. You have to defend your energy. They will not allow fracking. If they got in, her first move will be to end fracking all throughout the United States. Dave is running against truly not a good member. I don't like to be disrespectful. He's been there a long time, but Bob Casey is a stiff. He's a stiff. Nobody knows who the hell he is. I don't think I've ever gone to a meeting where he's been in the meeting, Mike. Mike has been in the meeting. Dan has been in the meeting. Scott is at too many meetings, right? No, I don't think I've ever been to a meeting where Casey's even been there. And I've been to a lot of meetings with a lot of senators, but, you know, he just sort of goes along year after year. His father was there, he's there. We want to have a great warrior. Dave, good luck. Good luck. Thank you, Dave. Vote for him. We're pleased to be joined today by some really fantastic people, some, I would say, truly great warriors. And if you could, maybe Congress people, just stand up, right? Just stand up. Scott Perry, Mike Kelly, G.T. Thompson, G.T. Hyde, Dan Muser, Lloyd Smucker. These are unbelievable warriors. These are great fighters. And if you can add David, it's going to be an unbeatable combination. Pennsylvania Treasurer, thank you very much, fellas. You've done a great job. You've done a great job. Pennsylvania Treasurer Stacey Garrity. Lancaster County Commissioner Josh Parsons. Great job, Josh. Jim Worthington, who's a fantastic man. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Nice to see you. And two people that are amazing, very talented, very incredible people. One is a spokesman for the lawyer, by the way, but a great spokesman, truly committed to make America great. And me, but truly committed to make America great, which is more important than me. More important, I mean, it's just something special. She has been an incredible person going around and letting people know how important our country is, how we love our country. Alina Habba. Alina, stand up, Alina. I didn't know she was going to be here today. And another person, one of the most talented writers, a person who truly has the pulse of this area, Pennsylvania, and the Rust Belt in general. The Rust Belt is her territory. Nobody covers it better. Salina Zito. Salina, where are you, Salina? Where are you? Thank you. She's a great writer. We're also joined by Tiffany Hall, a single mother of four from Columbia, Pennsylvania, who wants to tell us firsthand what the Biden-Harris inflation nightmare has done to her family. It's destroyed her family. Tiffany, please come up, please. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. This is happening all over America because of inflation, by the way. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you very much. So, gas prices are just astronomical. Being able to afford anything for my children anymore, like sports, is just kind of out of the question now. When President Trump was in, I could do these things with them. Since then, I have not been able to. I can't put them into sports. I can't go on extravagant vacations anymore. We can go to free parks around here. I miss it. I miss when we didn't have to pull out of our pockets for things. I'm hoping we can get back to a point where I'm financially stable.
You will.
And others, I know I can't be the only one. We're all going to the gas pump and being like, man, here goes the last of what I have. I know. I would like to be able to go into a grocery store again and not have to put something back or say, nope, we can't do a nice cake from the bakery. We have to try and do one from home. So I really hope and pray that we can make America great again and get you back in office.
Wow, thank you, Tiffany. So cute. You know, she said, oh, I can't believe it. I left my notes down on her seat. I said, just go and wing it. And she did better. You did better than if you had your notes, Tiffany. I have to be honest. That's great. You did better. Thank you. Appreciate it. Things like that happen. I said, well, give it a shot. She did better. Starting on day one of the Trump administration, we will end inflation and we will make America great again. We will deliver regulation cuts, energy price cuts, interest rate cuts, and we will drive prices down, and we'll drive them down very fast. We will pass massive tax cuts for workers, and that includes no tax on tips. To protect Pennsylvania jobs, I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status. I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. If China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 200% tariff or tax, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff or tax of 100 or 200% right back. You hurt us and we hurt you. It's an eye for an eye. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office shortly after we win the presidency, and it's we win the presidency, I mean that, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. And I am the only one that can say it. I know all the players, and they respect us, they respect me, and they used to respect our country, but no longer. I will prevent World War III. That's where we're heading. We're heading to World War III, and you see it. I will restore peace through strength. Over and over again, our enemies have watched Biden and Harris signal a lack of will, total weakness to do what's necessary to protect American people and stand up for our allies. A week ago, the Prime Minister of our closest Middle Eastern ally, Israel, came to address Congress. You saw that. Instead of sending a clear signal that the United States will never abandon an ally, a very important one, Kamala chose to politicize the moment, to grandstand, making a show of refusing to attend. You know where she was? She went to a sorority party. Can you believe it? Even though it was her duty as president of the Senate to be there, it was her duty to be there. Her Democrat allies fell in line. Chuck Schumer refused to shake the Israeli prime minister's hand. Chuck Schumer has become a Palestinian. Yes, can you believe it? He's become a proud member of Hamas. Nancy Pelosi likewise denounced the speech in shameful terms. You know, 15 years ago, Israel had the strongest, most powerful lobby in this country. Now it's almost the opposite, with AOC +3 and all the people, the enemies of our country in a true sense. But they are, and the enemies, when they saw all these people abandon Israel, they took note. And I don't think it's accidental that just 4 days after Harris and Biden repudiated our Israeli allies, Iran's top terrorist group, Hezbollah, fired an Iranian missile to kill 12 innocent children at a soccer field in northern Israel. Happened right after he left. With great embarrassment, he left. The terrorists did it because they assumed they could get away with it because the United States is weak and ineffective and no longer respected. We are no longer respected. We are a failing nation. I mean, it's horrible. You don't want to say it. I wish I didn't have to say it. I wish I could say they're doing a phenomenal job. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't have to run. I would be very happy to have somebody do a phenomenal job. I wouldn't have to run, and I'd be very happy with that. I'd be proud of our country. But right now, our country is a joke. It's being laughed at all over the world. The truth is, Harris and Biden's weakness is inviting every rogue enemy worldwide to absolutely get away with murder. In my next term, we will build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our country, a dome like has never been seen before, and it will be entirely made in the USA and right here in Pennsylvania, big sections of it. And I will cut, remember this, I will cut all of the bad talk about Social Security. They're going to destroy your Social Security, but I will not cut 1 cent from Social Security or Medicare. And I kept my promise for 4 years that I will keep it again. And seniors should not pay taxes on Social Security. And they won't. They won't. There are the people. It's up to you. No tax on Social Security. By contrast, Kamala cast a tie-breaking vote to cut Medicare. You saw this? By $237 billion in a heartless betrayal of American seniors. We're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than they have ever been before. We will take over the horribly run capital of our nation in Washington, D.C., clean it up, renovate it, fix it, rebuild it. We will again have the most beautiful capital anywhere in the world, and there will be no crime allowed. Very strong. Right now, you go there, you get mugged, you get shot. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I will keep men out of women's sports. How simple is that? I I will fully uphold our Second Amendment, as I did for 4 years. We just got the backing of the NRA, complete and total endorsement from the NRA. We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech to our country again. And very importantly, I will secure our elections. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots, proof of citizenship, voter ID. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. A lot of other countries are doing it. The mail-in voting isn't working. It's corrupt. But until then, Republicans must win. We want to have a landslide, because the best way to protect against the rigging, and these people know it, is too big to rig. There's a level at which they can't cheat. So if you want to save America, get your friends, get your family, get everyone you know, and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care when you vote, but whatever you do, you have to vote, and make sure your ballot counts. Because these people cheat. They cheat like dogs. And if you want to help us ensure election integrity, sign up at protectthevote.com. Protectthevote.com. And in conclusion, from Easton to Hershey, from Jamestown to Allentown, and from Pittsburgh to right here in beautiful Harrisburg. Love Harrisburg. We got a lot of votes in Harrisburg. We stand on the shoulders of American legends who poured out their blood, sweat, and tears for our rights and for our freedom. Pennsylvania is where our founding fathers declared American independence. Think of that. Think of the history that this great, great place is. Beautiful Pennsylvania. Think of the history that you have. It's where the Army weathered its brutal winter at Valley Forge, where General George Washington would never taken his name off any buildings they'd like to. When they want to take Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson off, it ain't gonna happen. But it will happen under her. George Washington led his men on a daring mission across the Delaware, and where the Union was saved by the immortal heroes at Gettysburg. Gettysburg, wow. Gettysburg. And this is the state where generations of tough, strong Pennsylvania miners and steelworkers forged the greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in serious decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, lost its willpower, and lost its strength. We are a nation that has lost, quite simply, its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. Soon be. With our leadership, every disaster Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have created can be fixed, and be quick, very quickly. We're going to do it so quickly. Remember, I used to tell the story, we're going to win, 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 right? We're going to win so much, you're going to get tired of winning. We're going to win. We're going to start winning. Please, please, Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're going to win, win, win. Every problem can be solved, and every wrong can be rectified. By this time next year, America's borders will be strong, sealed, and secure. Inflation will be a full thing of the past. It will be in full retreat. Our economy will be roaring back. Optimism will be surging. The American dream will be thriving again for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Law and justice will reign all throughout our land. Freedom will be restored. The flame of liberty will be burning bright. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the worst administration in the history of our country, will be a fading memory of the past, and our great silent majority, including the once forgotten men and women of our country, will be the ones shaping America's magnificent future when I am the 47th President of the United States. Because we are all Americans, and together we will show November 5th to be the most important day in the history of our country. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. Make America wealthy again. Make America strong again. Make America proud again. Make America safe again. Make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Pennsylvania. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.